I want to start out by really honing in on some of the science behind this program so that you know that the foundation for which we're building upon is solid. So the MGBX, what is the MGBX? The MGBX is the muscle growth blueprint formula for muscle growth. And our principles are the TEN philosophy, and that's time, tension, execution, effort, and going near failure. That's TEN, and that's not the same 10 as the Crunch Fitness 10. This is the MGB 10. This is the things that actually matter. It's not about the rep count. It's about how you do the rep count. And that's what we're focused on today. The number one principle that this program is founded upon, what does the T stand for? Time and tension. Mechanical tension is the foundation of hypertrophy. As a matter of fact, Brad Schoenfeld, who is one of the most renowned scholars for hypertrophy or muscle growth, says that mechanical tension is king when it comes to muscle growth. Now, where a lot of people miss the boat on this is mechanical tension has two sides to the equation. Most people focus on one side, and that is the weight side of it, the external resistance or the external load. Most people believe that to create high mechanical tension, it requires heavy weight. But that's only one side of the equation. As a matter of fact, in 2015, Bird et al. Found that muscles responded just as well to moderate loads when taking near failure as they did heavy loads. It's not about how much weight you're lifting, it's how you lift the weight that you're lifting. And part of the mechanical tension side of this is internal tension. So it's not just the external, it's also the internal. Now, where does that lead us to? That leads us to the mind-muscle connection. So part of this component of mechanical tension is not only the load on you, it's your force on the load. It's your internal muscles force. And what's really cool is that intentional focus on the target muscle has been shown to increase electromyography activity, EMG activity, which improves hypertrophy outcomes. And this was found by Kalatayud in 2015. So what this tells us is that the mind-muscle connection, your internal force on the external load, is just as big of a deal as what we see on the external. And this is a huge deal. This is how I brought all these things together, because it's not just mechanical tension that matters, it's also your time under tension. And in 2007, Wernbaum found that optimal hypertrophy occurs between 40 and 90 seconds of time under tension per set. So not only do we have mechanical tension, which Brad Schoenfeld says is the number one thing, I have went over how mechanical tension has two sides, right? It's got the external force side and your internal force side, your muscle side. And then time under tension has been shown to be a huge deal in this equation as well. So we don't just have one thing. It's not just mechanical tension, it's also the time component too. So let's put all these things together, because this is a lot to kind of digest. Mechanical tension. So we have how much weight you're lifting, basically the load on you, which is going to require your internal tension. But then it's your load on it, how you actually move the load. So that's the other side of this. That is combined with the time. So it's not just the amount of tension that's being put on you and that you're putting on it, it's the amount of time at which this occurs. And all these things lead us to creating enough metabolic stress, which is cellular swelling, to accumulate to create hypoxia, which is a lack of oxygen, which is a sign of, reduced oxygen is a sign of stress, that stimulates the muscle growth pathways. So all these things, your mechanical tension, the load on you, your force on the load, the amount of time, the effort, the mind-muscle side of this, is all leading to enough metabolic stress, which has been shown to be at its optimal point near failure. And that leads us to the last thing, which is max muscle fiber recruitment occurs near failure. And Bird et al. Is one of the biggest studies to go along with this. And as I went over recently, I don't just look at studies. I examine how these studies are done, and all these are very solid studies. So what is the beauty of the MGBX formula? It's that I have been in this long enough to know it's not one thing that creates hypertrophy. It's the blend. It's all of these things together. And I've taken a lot of time to not only research this, but to experiment with this on me and with other clients. This is the MGBX. It's not some just random formula that I've put together. This is all based on the key drivers for muscle growth. And it is a kindergarten approach to think that it's one thing. And it's also a kindergarten approach to think that the external load is the thing that drives hypertrophy, because it's not. Is it a factor? Of course. How much weight you're lifting is a factor, but it's just as much as how you're lifting it, that internal force, and also that time piece. So all these things come together, and I'm trying to simplify this every single exercise that we do by walking you through what are the key components to actually create this thing that we're trying to create, which is metabolic stress and change in your body and change in your strength. Well, this is gonna get really effing interesting. So, isometrics serve a lot of purposes. What is an isometric? An isometric is a contraction without no visible movement. This is a great way to, in the intro, I went over how do we create this thing that we call muscle growth. Well, part of the way is by creating metabolic stress through hypoxia, through which is lack of oxygen, which is a byproduct of inducing fatigue on the muscle. That's what this isometric is doing here at the bottom. We're inducing fatigue because we're then going to utilize that fatigue to stress the shit in your chest as you do the press. And all these things are to create the optimal environment for muscle growth. This is why it's not just the weight that matters. We're creating max tension, which is your, what did we go over at the beginning? Tension is two components. Your internal, tension is two components, your internal tension and the external load. So we're creating internal intentional effort, squeezing the muscle here, combined with the external load, which is the weight that we choose, but it doesn't have to be super heavy. It just has to be enough to create max fatigue. And that's the environment we're trying to create, which is also gonna be less joint stress anyway. Okay, time started. Man, my fingers aren't hitting the button today. 30 seconds. Hold. Keeping that tension. I'm not just holding, I'm thinking about squeezing my chest the whole time. Keeping my shoulder blades drawn back, that's 30. Now start pressing. What are they doing at goals? Well, they're just doing this. Actually, they're probably just doing this. They're pushing out like that. What are we gonna do? We're gonna press in an arc, bringing these dumbbells up and together, drawing our hands toward midline, towards the center. We're gonna make our chest do all the work. It's time. I guess I'm gonna do one more. Four sets, one more. I'm gonna repeat what I said at the beginning because I don't think I can say this enough. Mechanical tension is key for muscle growth. The problem today is that since information is more accessible than ever before, is that people have access. They don't have a background in this stuff. So regular gym goers read Oh, mechanical tension is everything, but they don't understand it. They don't understand that mechanical tension isn't weight. It's biomechanics, internal tension, muscle tension, and external force, and it's how to apply these forces. Here's a good example. A cable bicep curl is different than a dumbbell bicep curl. A cable, the way that it pulls you, creates tension the whole time. A dumbbell doesn't because it requires gravity. So there's different mechanical tension on a cable than there is a dumbbell. Why does that matter? It matters because that's one way of showing it's the way that forces are applied on your body that creates tension. It's not the weight, it's how the weight is applied. So this is a lot deeper than just loading the out of yourself and stretching your joints unnecessarily. Last set, here we go. I'm gonna start my timer. Other timer started. Last one, we're gonna hold the tension, 30 seconds. Notice I'm not resting here on the ligaments of my shoulder. This down here is rest. This is resting on the ligaments of your shoulder, and this is stressing a lot of your shoulder joint. I'm gonna come out of this position, lifting my elbows up slightly to create the tension on my chest. So I'm not hanging on the passive structures of my chest. I'm hanging on my chest muscle.